I'm Gabrielle, a 39-year-old single mother. I never thought my life would turn out this way. Years ago, when my sister passed away, I was faced with a choice that would change everything for me. She left behind a little boy, her only son. He was small, innocent, and completely unaware of the tragedy that had just struck his life. I looked at him, and I knew he had no one else. If I didn't step in, who would? So, without a second thought, I brought him into my home. I decided I would raise him as my own. I already had a daughter, but my heart told me there was room for one more. I told myself, blood is blood. He may not be mine by birth, but he is mine now by responsibility, by love, and by duty. At first, it wasn't easy. Adding another child into the family came with challenges. Money was tight. I had to stretch every meal, every bit of clothing, every cent I made. There were nights I would go without just to make sure both children ate enough. I remember times when I had to put aside my own needs, new shoes, a doctor's visit, even a day's rest, just so I could keep them both clothed, healthy, and in school. But I didn't mind. Every time I saw him smile, every time he called me mama, it felt worth it. My sister wasn't here anymore, but through him, a part of her still lived. I told myself I was doing the right thing, that one day, he would grow up and be grateful for the sacrifices I made. I raised him alongside my daughter, and from the very beginning, I made sure he never felt different. They ate the same food, wore clothes bought from the same shops, went to the same schools. If I bought my daughter a toy, I bought him one too. If I saved up for my daughter's birthday, I made sure his was celebrated as well. I wanted him to feel loved, to feel like he belonged. People around me used to say, "You're doing too much. He's not really your son." But I ignored them. How could I not give him the same love? He was just a child who had lost everything. And I thought, maybe if I gave him enough love, enough care, he wouldn't grow up feeling the emptiness of losing his mother so young. Years passed, and the bond only grew deeper. He started introducing me as his mother. At school, at church, even to his friends, he never said aunt. It was always my mom. And I won't lie, a part of me felt proud when I heard that. I thought to myself, yes, I did it. I gave him a family. I gave him a home. It wasn't just about material things either. I spent long nights helping him with homework, guiding him through struggles, teaching him about life. When he was sick, I sat by his bedside until morning. When he was scared, I held him and told him he was safe. My daughter and he grew up almost like twins, close in age, close in bond. They laughed together, fought together, and shared their childhoods under the same roof. Looking back, I realize how much I gave up along the way. There were opportunities one passed up because I couldn't leave the children alone. There were relationships I never pursued because I didn't want anyone to disrupt our small family. I became both mother and father. I became the provider, the protector, the guide. And truthfully, I never complained. I saw myself as blessed to raise not just one, but two children. My daughter and my nephew were my world. To me, they were both mine, no difference. I poured my entire heart into raising him, thinking I was doing the right thing. I thought I was building a strong family, creating a safe space where both children could grow without worry. I believed my sacrifices were shaping a bright future for them. If only I had known back then that the love and protection I gave would one day come back to me in ways I could never have imagined. As the years rolled by, life in our home settled into a rhythm. My daughter and my sister's son, though not siblings by blood, were raised as brother and sister in every way. To anyone who didn't know our story, they looked like two children from the same mother. And to me, that's exactly how I treated them. There was laughter in the house, arguments over small things, and the usual chaos of raising kids. They shared toys, fought over who got the last piece of meat at dinner, and complained together when it was time to do chores. To me, these were the moments that made all the sacrifices worth it. I wasn't just keeping two kids alive, I was raising a family. I worked hard to give them the best I could. I woke up early, cooked meals, and rushed to work, only to come home and still help them with school assignments. I remember countless evenings when the three of us sat around the dining table, me explaining math problems or helping them prepare for tests. It didn't matter how tired I was. Seeing them succeed was enough to keep me going. People in the neighborhood admired us. They often said, "You've done such a good job." Not many people would raise their sister's son like their own. And I would smile politely, but deep down, I never saw it as something extraordinary. To me, it was just love. Family is family, no matter how it's formed. The children grew close in ways that made me proud. If one fell sick, the other would sit beside them, keeping them company. If one got in trouble, the other was quick to defend. At school, teachers would often say, "They look out for each other." That always warmed my heart because that was what I wanted: unity, closeness, loyalty. I sacrificed a lot for that closeness. When I didn't have enough money, I split it evenly. If my daughter needed shoes, he got shoes too. If he wanted to join a school club, I made sure my daughter could join something as well. I didn't want either of them to feel neglected. To me, they were equals in every way. And you know what? They never called me unfair. In fact, they always appreciated what I did. On my birthdays or Mother's Day, they'd save up their little pocket money to buy me small gifts. Sometimes it was just a handwritten card, sometimes a flower picked from the garden. But every time, it brought tears to my eyes. Those two children were my pride, my joy, my reason for pushing forward. In those moments, I felt like I had built something solid, a family bond that could never be broken. I told myself, one day, these children will grow up and stand by each other. They'll protect each other, and they'll always remember the home I gave them. But life has a way of surprising us. When children grow, they don't just carry the lessons you taught them. They also carry their own feelings, their own desires, their own paths that you can't always control. Still, in those years, I felt certain of one thing. I had given them the foundation of love and family. And in my heart, I believed nothing could shake that bond. Nothing. But I was wrong. Because the very bond one had worked so hard to build would one day be the reason for the deepest heartbreak of my life. Time went on and my children grew older. My daughter reached her teenage years, and so did the boy I raised as my own son. Those years were challenging, but I thought we were handling them well. Teenagers are always moody, always full of secrets, but I told myself it was normal. I had been preparing for it. Those late nights worrying, those talks about responsibility, about focusing on school, about not letting distractions ruin their future. I thought I was doing everything right. I watched my daughter blossom into a young woman. Smart, beautiful, full of potential. And the boy, too, he was growing into a fine young man. He was respectful, hardworking, and always told me how grateful he was for all I had done. If anything, I felt proud. Proud of the family I had built with my own two hands. But then, everything changed. It started with small things. I noticed my daughter becoming quieter than usual. She didn't laugh as much, didn't spend as much time with me. I assumed it was just teenage mood swings, maybe stress from school. But then I noticed the boy acting differently too. He was always around her, always protective in a way that seemed different. At first, I brushed it off. They were close. They had grown up like brother and sister, so of course they'd be protective of each other. But in the pit of my stomach, something didn't feel right. And then one day, my daughter came to me. She was trembling, her eyes filled with tears. She sat me down and whispered words that would shake my entire world. Mom, I'm pregnant. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Pregnant? My daughter was only 19. I had so many plans for her. She was supposed to finish her studies, to build her own life, to have the freedom I never had. My heart sank as I thought of everything she was about to lose. But nothing prepared me for what came next. I asked her who the father was. I was bracing myself for the name of some boy from school, or maybe a friend she had been secretly seeing. But when she opened her mouth, the name that came out crushed me. "It's him," she said. She didn't have to explain further. I knew exactly who she meant. The boy I had raised. The child I had taken in. The one who called me mother. My world collapsed in that moment. I felt dizzy, like the floor had been ripped out from under me. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't just teenage recklessness. This was something I could never have imagined in all my years of sacrifice. I stared at her, my heart breaking, my mind racing. How could this happen? Had I been blind all this time? Did I miss the signs? I thought I had raised them as siblings, but here they were, crossing a line that I thought was impossible. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. He didn't hang his head in shame. Instead, he looked me straight in the eyes and said something that left me even more shaken. "I love her." He said it firmly, as though it were the most natural thing in the world. As though this wasn't tearing our family apart. I couldn't believe it. The boy I had taken in, the one I had sacrificed so much for, now stood before me claiming to be in love with my daughter. The daughter I had raised him alongside, the girl he had grown up with under my roof. I felt betrayed, devastated, and confused all at once. I had dedicated my life to raising these two children, to making sure they felt like brother and sister, like equals. But now, they were looking at me not as siblings, but as something else entirely. My daughter was crying, saying she didn't know what to do. The boy was insisting he wanted to be with her, that he loved her, that he was ready to take responsibility. And me, I was sitting there, feeling like my entire life's work had just unraveled. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every decision I made, it all suddenly felt like it had led to this moment, and I didn't know whether to scream, to cry, or to simply give up. The truth was out. The family bond one thought was unshakable had twisted into something I never imagined. And I was left with a question that haunted me day and night. Did I make a mistake bringing him into my home? After that day, nothing in my home felt the same. I would walk through the house and feel a heaviness in the air, like all the laughter and warmth that used to fill the walls had been replaced by silence and tension. My daughter avoided my eyes, ashamed yet stubborn. And the boy I raised, he stood tall, almost defiant, as though he believed he was doing nothing wrong. I spent sleepless nights replaying everything in my head. I thought about the years of sacrifice, the years of treating them both as equals, of raising them side by side. Had I failed to set the right boundaries? Did I create too much closeness? Or was this something I could never have stopped, no matter what I did? My daughter, just 19, was caught between fear and confusion. She would cry one moment, saying she didn't know what she wanted, and the next moment, she'd defend him, insisting he truly loved her. She was scared, scared of judgment, scared of me, scared of the future that now rested inside her belly. And then there was him, the boy I raised as my own son. He didn't cower, he didn't apologize. He looked at me with steady eyes and said words that cut me deeply. I want to marry her. Marry her? I could hardly believe it. To him, this wasn't some mistake. It wasn't a lapse in judgment. To him, this was love, a future, something he wanted to hold on to. He spoke with conviction, as though all my sacrifices, all my motherly care, were now leading him to this point. But for me, it felt like betrayal. I had given him a home when he had none. I had raised him, loved him, guided him. And now, he wanted to take my daughter's hand not as a brother should protect a sister, but as a man taking a wife. I felt torn in ways I can't even describe. On one hand, my daughter was pregnant. There was already a life growing inside her. I couldn't change that. On the other hand, how could I accept a relationship that went against everything I believed, everything I had built? Everywhere I turned, there were questions with no answers. If I forbade them, would my daughter hate me forever? If I accepted them, would I ever be able to look at myself in the mirror? Would I ever be able to forgive him for taking advantage of the bond we had? And deep inside, one thought haunted me more than anything else. Maybe, just maybe, I had made a mistake from the very beginning. Maybe, by taking him in, by raising him under the same roof as my daughter, I had unknowingly set this entire tragedy into motion. I asked myself over and over, was my kindness the seed of my own heartbreak? Some days, I tried to remind myself of the good. I reminded myself of the little boy who once called me mama, who clung to me when he was scared, who looked up to me with innocent eyes. But then, I'd look at the man standing in front of me now, declaring love for my daughter, and I'd feel nothing but betrayal. My home is no longer the same. My daughter is carrying a child, my so-called son is determined to claim her as his wife, and I am left in the middle, broken and uncertain. People say love is beautiful, but in my house, love has turned into a weapon, cutting ties, shattering trust, and leaving me to pick up the pieces of a family I thought could never be broken. And so here I am, asking myself again and again, after all my sacrifices, after all my years of giving everything I had, did I make the biggest mistake of my life by taking him in?